Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to Global Atheist News, our weekly report on how religion has impacted humanity over the last 7 days. Dateline 22nd of October 2022. This week's headlines. An Iranian schoolgirl was beaten to death for refusing to sing a pro-regime anthem. The Iranian climber says her hijab fell off accidentally at an overseas competition. Several died in a fire at Iran's notorious detention center. Authorities in Iran were forced to remove a poster of women in hijabs after a PR fiasco. Protests galvanize Iranians abroad in hope, worry, and unity. Iran, the BBC says how we are uncovering the protests and crackdowns. Religious polarisation in India is seeping into the USA diaspora. The Supreme Court declines to hear Rhode Island fetal personhood case. Religion is declining in the USA. Latinos are leaving the Catholic Church. And heresy isn't the enemy in the TikTok pastor's new book. According to the Coordinating Council of Iranian Teachers' Trade Associations, 16-year-old Azra Panahi died after security forces raided the Shahid Girls High School in Ardabil on the 13th of October and demanded a group of girls to sing an anthem that praises Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. When they refused, the security forces beat the pupils, leading to a number of girls being taken to hospital and others arrested. On Friday, Panahi reportedly died of her injuries. Schoolgirls have emerged as a powerful force after videos went viral of classrooms of pupils waving their hijabs in the air, taking down pictures of Iran's supreme leaders, and shouting anti-regime slogans in support of Mahsa Amini, the 22-year-old woman who died after being detained by Iran's morality police for not wearing her hijab correctly back in August. The Iranian authorities responded by launching a series of raids on schools across the country last week, with reports of officers forcing their way into classrooms, violently arresting schoolgirls and pushing them into waiting cars and firing tear gas into school buildings. In a statement posted on Sunday, Iran's teachers' union condemned the brutal and inhumane raids and called for the resignation of the education minister, Youssef Nouri. See this video. A female Iranian climber who competed with her hair uncovered, did so because her hijab fell off inadvertently, a post on her Instagram account says. Elnaz Rikabi, 33, was praised by those protesting against Iran's dress code after a video showed her violating it at the Asian Championships in South Korea. But then BBC Persian reported that friends had been unable to contact her. Before dawn on Wednesday morning, she flew into Tehran, where large crowds had gathered to greet her. Videos on social media show many of them clapping and chanting, "Elnaz is a heroine," as she arrived. Where the athlete is now heading is unknown. The post that appeared on Instagram on Tuesday apologized for getting everybody worried. Due to bad timing and the unanticipated call for me to climb the wall, my head covering inadvertently came off, it explained. The post added that she was on her way back to Iran alongside the team based on the pre-arranged schedule. BBC Persian's Rana Rahimpour says that to many people, the language used in the post looks like it has been written under duress. Other Iranian women who have competed abroad without wearing a headscarf in the past have said they came under pressure from Iranian authorities to issue similar apologies. Some of them decided not to go back to Iran. See this video. Four prisoners have died and 61 have been injured following a major fire at Iran's notorious Evin prison, according to an Iranian state news agency. Sources inside the prison, which is known for housing political prisoners, told the BBC Persian the number of casualties is higher. Videos shared online showed flames and smoke at the site, and gunshots and explosions could be heard. Hundreds of those taking part in protests have been sent to Evin prison in Tehran. It is not known whether the situation at the jail is linked to the demonstrations. British-Iranian dual nationals Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe and Anousheh Ashuri were both held at Evin prison for several years on spying charges, which they denied, before their release earlier this year. I used to call it the Valley of Hell, so you can imagine the situation there is really dark. Medical care is next to zero. They are living with bed bugs, cockroaches, rats, you name it, Mr. Ashuri told the BBC on Sunday. Human Rights Watch has accused authorities at the prison of using threats of torture and indefinite imprisonment, as well as lengthy interrogations and denial of medical care. See this video.
نیروهای اعدام ویژه دارن میان سمت زندان اوین.
The Iranian authorities suffered a PR fiasco after being forced to take down a giant billboard in Central Square in Tehran when women shown in the poster or their relatives objected to being depicted as supporters of the government and the compulsory wearing of the hijab. The billboard was a montage of about 50 Iranian women wearing the hijab under the slogan, "Women of my land." It was taken down within 24 hours after at least 3 of the women pictured said they objected to their images being misused. Fatemeh Mohammed Arya, a multi-award-winning actor, was the first to protest, releasing a video. "Not wearing the hijab," she said, "I am considered a woman in a land where young children, little girls and freedom-loving youths are killed in its fields. I am Maza's mother. I am Serena's mother. I am the mother of all the children who were killed in this land. I am the mother of all the land of Iran, not a woman in the land of murderers," she added, referring to Mahsa Amini, the 22-year-old Kurdish woman whose death in police custody has sparked these protests across Iran, and Serena Esmailzadeh, who Amnesty International has said was killed by security forces at a protest. Soon after the video was released, the film director Mazia Barumand and the mountaineer Pavane Kazemi also denounced the use of their images on the billboard. Barumand wrote on her Instagram account, "Gentlemen, remove my photo from the wall under which you oppress children and young people. I will never allow any group inside or outside the country to use my cultural identity for their own benefit." As anti-government protests roil cities and towns in Iran for a 4th week, tens of thousands of Iranians living abroad have marched on the streets of Europe, North America, and beyond in support of what many believe to be a watershed moment for their home country. From those who fled in the 1980s after Iran's 1979 Islamic Revolution, to a younger generation of Iranians born and raised in Western capitals, many in the diaspora community say they feel an unprecedented unity of purpose and affinity with the demonstrations at home. I see this as a turning point for Iran in many ways. We've always had political fault lines that divided us, but this time it's people saying, "I'm with women," said Tahiri Danesh, a human rights researcher who lives and works in London. "It's phenomenal. It's happened at such speed, and this sense of camaraderie among Iranians has been amazing." A woman dragged away by female special forces, security forces shooting from a pickup truck, detained protesters being bussed away, men ducking for cover from gunfire. These are some of the shocking incidents seen in videos shared by people inside Iran over the past day, whose authenticity BBC journalists have been able to verify. The BBC and independent media are not allowed to report from Iran, so such videos are crucial to establishing what is happening on the ground. Iranian authorities have been disrupting the internet service in order to limit the flow of information and control the narrative. But Iranians are still sending BBC Persian videos of protests happening across the country via messaging apps. Videos are also being posted frequently on social media. Before a video can be used in any reports, journalists need to establish where and when it was filmed. They can pinpoint the location by looking for landmarks and signs in the footage and checking them against satellite images, street level photos, and previous footage. Weather reports, the position of the sun, and the angles of shadows it creates can be used to confirm the timing. See this video. In Edison, New Jersey, a bulldozer, which has become a symbol of oppression of India's Muslim minority, rolled down the street during a parade marking that country's Independence Day. At an event in Anaheim, California, a shouting match erupted between people celebrating the holiday and those who showed up to protest violence against Muslims in India. Indian Americans from diverse faith backgrounds have peacefully coexisted stateside for several decades, but these recent events in the US and violent confrontations between some Hindus and Muslims last month in Leicester, England, have heightened concerns that stark political and religious polarization in India is seeping into diaspora communities. In India, Hindu nationalism has surged under Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Bharatiya Janata Party. The US Supreme Court declined on Tuesday, October the 11th, to hear a case involving a debate over whether a fetus is entitled to constitutional rights or not, rejecting an appeal spearheaded by a Catholic anti-abortion group. The justice's move represents a setback for supporters of fetal personhood, a notion advanced by some anti-abortion activists that holds that an unborn fetus is entitled to the constitutional rights of any American citizen. Enshrining the concept into law, legal experts say, could have consequences for those who plan to become pregnant through in vitro fertilization, and could result in the criminalization of abortion as homicide. Two pregnant women, along with a group known as both Catholics for Life and Servants of Christ for Life, challenged the Rhode Island state law, arguing they were doing so on behalf of unborn fetuses. The state, they claimed, was violating the fetus's personhood. The Rhode Island Supreme Court ruled in May that the fetuses lacked legal standing, and by refusing to take up the case, the US Supreme Court allows the lower court ruling to remain in place. Advocates for fetal personhood have pushed their cause in several states. In Georgia, fetal personhood legislation, approved in the wake of the overturning of Roe v. Wade, goes so far, according to the state's Department of Revenue, as to allow residents to claim unborn children as a dependent. In Texas, a pregnant woman pulled over for driving alone in the high occupancy vehicle lane on the highway told a police officer that her unborn fetus counted as a second person. The NBC News Telemundo National Survey report conducted over September 17 to 26 published a table that should spread despondency in the US Catholic Church, which had been pinning its hopes of avoiding the hemorrhage of members that was experienced by other Christian churches in the USA by the immigration of Hispanic people who they assumed to be overwhelmingly Catholic. In fact, the survey showed that not only do less than half of Hispanic Americans self-identify as Catholic, but of those who are not now Catholic, 40% say they were formerly Catholic. This is almost double the US average of 21% of non-Catholics who have left the Catholic Church for other religions or none. I'm not interested in playing the orthodoxy game, the TikTok pastor told Religion News Service in a recent phone call. Once an evangelical darling, today Brandon Robertson is known to his 195.5k followers as an openly gay Christian pastor making Christianity queer again. When Robertson isn't posting videos critiquing conversion therapy or Christian nationalism, he's focusing on his PhD in religion or leading Metanoia Church, a digital spiritual community that emerged during the pandemic. See this video.
I think the biggest challenge of being a gay pastor, even in affirming communities, is that so many liberal communities are still structured around heteronormativity and patriarchy. And as a gay man, I show up in the world and live my life in a way that transgresses a lot of the assumptions of heteronormativity, of patriarchy. And so I've spent a lot of time, even with affirming progressive liberal people, trying to explain why the way LGBT people show up in the world, the way we live our life, the way we orient our relationships might look different than heteronormative and patriarchal standards, and that's okay, because we are different. We are oriented differently. God has created us and wired us differently than many cisgender heterosexual people. And so it's really just helping people understand that the heteronormative lens is only one lens to view the world through, and that there are other ways to show up, to live, to love in our world.
This week's Free Thought Hour features Barry Desborough. We will talk about endogenous retroviruses, xenophobia, and evolutionary psychology. You can join in by texting your comments and questions. It's live and it's free. Don't forget to watch Global Atheist News Review, our spin-off show where a panel of opinionated people get a chance to express their views on this very news. The GAN team will be back with our weekly news report next week. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, and set the notifications. This has been Global Atheist News. Thank you for watching.